Hey, good morning. John here. Just had some quick thoughts out of the book of First Kings that the Lord has been challenging me with this morning. And to give you a quick backdrop, I'm in chapter 18, but this is kind of a fast forward of the story. King Ahab and Jezebel have been leading the people. For those of you listening on podcasts, I gave the air quotes. Leading the people astray is really what they've been doing. And God takes away the rain in order to help the people of Israel turn to him and repent. And there kind of comes a decision point that the people need to make. And so Elijah is told by God to meet with Ahab and to be at Mount Carmel and to work to display the Lord's power to the people. So pick it up with me in verse 20 of chapter 18. So Ahab sent a message among all the sons of Israel and brought the prophets together at Mount Carmel. Elijah came near to all the people and said, "How long will you hesitate between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him." But the people did not answer him a word. Then Elijah said to the people, "I alone am a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Now let them give us 2 oxen, and let them choose 1 ox for themselves and cut it up, and place it on the wood, but put no fire under it. And I will prepare the other ox, and lay it on the wood, and I will not put a fire under it. Then you call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord, and the God who answers by fire, he is God." All the people said that it is a good idea. And so we all know the story here, right? The people, the Baal prophets kind of run around, jump around, they scream and yell and pray, and that's from the morning all the way until noon. And then at noon, Elijah gets sarcastic with him. He says, well, hey, maybe you need to be louder because he could be sleeping, or maybe he's in a distant land. And the Baal prophets then actually take it a step further. They actually kind of get a little crazy in their attempts. They actually begin to cut themselves and scream and holler, and they bleed. And the reality is that obviously that a God who is not a God cannot create fire. So it becomes very, very evident that Baal is not going to bring fire down on this altar. And so the first thought that I had was that, our idol worship is never this clear. We never worship in such a crazy way thinking that some God who isn't a God is going to create fire out of nothing. But what we do is we begin to invest ourselves in things we think will give us fulfillment, things that will make us happy. And they just won't. So the prophets of Baal, knowing that Baal had never done anything, that Baal was not powerful, was not able to create fire, they still gave themselves to this. In fact, one of the things that happens with idol worship is that lots of times we don't even realize it. When it doesn't give us fulfillment, sometimes we even double down like these people did, right? The prophets of Baal, when he didn't answer the first time, they began to cut themselves and bleed and scream and yell. They actually gave themselves more to asking Baal to show up rather than, oh, well, this probably really isn't even a God, something that will even give us fulfillment. So we do that as well. So sometimes when we get things that we think are going to bring us success and fulfillment, and they don't, we then try harder on those same things. So our hearts are prone to idol worship. My heart is prone to idol worship. And I have to ensure that when I do track down that route and God doesn't allow me to receive fulfillment, that I actually don't even double down on that effort, but instead I repent and I return back to the Lord. And in contrast, right, if you remember the story, Elijah has them dump water all over the altar. Now remember, it hadn't rained for 5 years. A very, very long time. And these little, this isn't a pitcher of water. I mean, imagine a gigantic pitcher of water you've got to kind of waddle over to the altar. And they dump a whole bunch of those pitchers. In fact, they take 3 trips. What if this is the last little bit of water they have to live on? These are kind of like their reserves, what they're hiding away. There's no more water in the whole land because it's been such a huge drought. And they dump all of that water out on the altar. That's the kind of God that we serve. We serve a God who is more than able, despite any restrictions or any challenges, to create fire out of nothing. So that's the contrast, and that is a God who fulfills. So that's my first thought. The second thought is, if you remember the story, they destroy all the prophets of Baal. And Jezebel is super angry, and she promises that she's going to kill Elijah. So Elijah is completely, totally distraught. He runs away and hides in the wilderness. So Elijah had been used of God for this huge moment. And immediately following that huge moment, he's completely, totally distraught. So we have a tendency in our relationship with God to want to live from high point to high point to high point to high point. And very practically in 1 Kings chapter 19, the Lord comes and ministers to Elijah with food and water. An angel comes and visits him. So I just thought, boy, am I prone to want to see God do these very highlight reel kind of things in my life, when what God really does is day in and day out, he meets my practical needs. Day in and day out, he meets my spiritual needs. And just like this morning, he gave me a very clear reminder of what it looks like to walk with him. So watch your heart. It's prone to idol worship, and enjoy God in the day-to-day moments, were two things that God has given me this morning. Hope you're well. Praying for you. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.